What up, everybody? Grom Trooper here, and today we are going to go take a ride and check out the Alameda Open Space Park, which is down in the bosque here by the river on the north side of Albuquerque. And gonna go ride down one of our nicer little pseudo-residential streets called Rio Grande, which as you can guess parallels the river, and go check out the Alameda Open Space. And while we're on this ride today, guys, I wanted to talk to you about something that I know can be sort of a polarizing issue, which is, do you work on your own bike, or do you take it to a mechanic or the dealer to work on it for you? So today's topic is to wrench or not to wrench. Again, I know this can be sort of polarizing, so I'm interested to hear people's opinions on this. So again, we'll pick it back up when we're on Rio Grande. I might have a few things to say between now and then, but for now I'm just gonna sort of cruise the neighborhoods and work my way down there, deal with this Sunday Albuquerque traffic, which on the back roads isn't as bad, but if I were to hop on Manal right now, a few blocks west, it would get pretty brutal. So we're going to take the back way down, and we can do that because we don't have any place we need to be in a particular order. I need to put some stronger magnets on the bottom of my bike so I don't have to wait at lights this long. So, I lied. I figured we've actually got a bit of a decent ride before we get down to Rio Grande. So, let's talk a little bit. Again, there's two schools of thought. Sort of one that's in between. I'd like to know what you guys ascribe to. So, the first school of thought is, you know, I don't wrench on my bike. I leave that to the professionals, etc., etc. And you know, these are your people who buy a bike and ride it, and that's not to say they don't know how to work on their bikes. And this is something that I've learned over the years, is that just because somebody doesn't wrench on their bike doesn't mean they don't know how to wrench on their bike, which makes it even more interesting to me. So again, these are the people who buy a bike, ride it, whenever anything needs to be done to it, it goes to a mechanic or a dealership. Be that, you know, lever adjustments, cable adjustments, you know, brake pads, oil change, or, you know, something major like, I don't know, clutch rebuild, or redoing the fork oil, what have you. So, you know, there's pros and cons to that, right? One of the pros is that you don't have to do it yourself. And, you know, for those of us who spent hours upon hours banging their head against the wall working on their bikes because they're too stubborn to take it to somebody else to do it, you know, there's a good benefit to, you know, dropping the bike off, going, all right, figure out what's wrong, peace, I'll be back for it when you tell me it's ready. And I know that's some people's jam, and that's okay. And it's one of the major benefits to doing it that way, is you don't have any of the stress related to doing it. Next benefit is that a lot of shops, as well as dealerships, will actually warranty their work. So, you know, you take it in and you get them to wrench on it, and then 2 days later the problem's back. You go back and say, hey, you know, you didn't actually fix this, so fix it and don't charge me any more money. So that's a big benefit to having somebody else to do the work, is the fact that it's you know, warranted most of the time. So not only do you not have the headache of having to deal with it in the first place, you don't have to deal with it again if they fucked up. And I think that's an important distinction to make when it comes to, you know, getting work warranted on any sort of vehicle, or I think anything really. It can't be, the issue cannot be a product of your abuse of the piece of machinery, right? So let's say, you know, my clutch is acting up because I'm popping dank nooners with it, and, you know, doing burnouts and all sorts of other stuff that's causing abnormal wear on the clutch itself. I can go to a mechanic and have them pay them to repair it, but I can't go back to them a month later when I've been back out cranking dank nooners and you know, burnouts and everything else that's wearing my clutch down, and be like, hey, my clutch is acting up again, what the hell, guys? And they're gonna be like, well, it's got to be how you're riding it, because we did the work the right way. So just bear that in mind, you know, when you're getting stuff repaired professionally. If it's something that you think you're going to have to be doing a lot because of your particular riding style, or you know, some other sort of malfunction on your motorcycle, it may be worth doing it yourself, because, you know, you don't want to be paying them to do it every 5 seconds. Also, why does nobody else besides me wave to scooters? They're on 2 wheels too. I know there's a lot of hate for scooters out there, but I'd much rather somebody else be out on the road on a scooter than out in a cage, you know. And I think that they're people too, you know. And I know there's a stigma around, you know, oh, you only have a scooter because you don't have a driver's license anymore because you got a DUI or something. There's some people out there, including, you know, a couple of my teachers when I was in high school even, who just really like scooters. Yeah, it's weird. I don't understand it, but that doesn't mean that they're invalid. God, I sound like such a millennial. It doesn't mean that they're invalid if they like the weird scooters. You cannot invalidate them. Anyways, back on topic. Don't take something in and have it repaired if it's something you're going to have to, because of your riding style or abuse of your motorcycle, go back and do again later. Because there's just no point. This little buddy's smoking. God, you'd think that was a 2-stroke. Anyways, so that's my take on shop repairs. All right, now other end of the spectrum, doing it all yourself. You know, the pro arguments for that. Well, actually, let's go back. Let's talk about the con arguments of having a shop work on your motorcycle. Everyone thinks it's money first and foremost. It's not. It's time. So let's say you drop your bike off for a job that takes an hour, right? You know, you're not going to pay a ton of money for it. You're going to pay a lot of money, but you're not going to pay, you know, boatloads of money. It's not to the point where you need to buy a new motorcycle. But they might not get to your bike that day. They might not get to your bike within a few days. It may be an instance where you're dropping a bike off to have something done that takes an hour or 2 hours, but you're out your bike for a week, 2 weeks, you know, and depending on the complexity of the job, I've seen people be out of their bikes for even longer, especially with, you know, having to wait on parts. If you've got an older motorcycle or a obscure motorcycle, it's something where, you know, you can be out a lot more time on your motorcycle than you would be if you did it yourself. Now, second is clearly money, right? Mechanic repair is not cheap, and if you do find it cheap, I'll tell you the same thing I tell everybody else. You definitely get what you pay for with that. So just be aware of that. Well, that being said, you know, those are really the two downsides, right? Is, you know, the mechanics, they don't work for free, and because there are people out there, and a lot of them, who don't wrench on their own motorcycles, you can be out your bike for quite a while. And I don't know about you, like I refuse to stop riding through the winter months here, because there's no reason not to, actually. But I don't like to be without a motorcycle for any period of time. I suppose that's one of the reasons why I hoard them, because if one breaks, then I can be like, all right, I'll get on the other one today. So those are the cons to having your motorcycle worked at a shop. Now, as we were saying before, let's move back to the other end of the spectrum, doing everything yourself. Pros: saves money. Asterisk. So, theoretically, doing everything yourself saves money. Now, is there a chance that you're going to go in there to fix something and break something else entirely? Absolutely. If you are not a trained motorcycle mechanic, the chances of you damaging something while working on your bike are, I won't say high, but decent. So bear that in mind. Yes, it can save you money. It can also cost you a boatload of money. And you know, if a mechanic's in there working on your bike and they break something, it's on them to fix it. If you're in there, you break something on your bike, it's on you. And that can add up pretty quick depending on what you break. Another pro: doesn't take that much time. Also, asterisk with exceptions. So, just like we were talking about before, if you only need an hour's work on your bike, or you know, you just got to do a chain adjustment, or I don't know, any of those things that I listed before that will come up on the screen now, along with other ones that I think of later. These are things that you could probably do on your own without much risk of damaging your motorcycle, and will keep you from being without a motorcycle and out of pocket. So, in the opposite spectrum of time from the way it was the first time, you're now, instead of being without your motorcycle for a long time, since you did the work yourself, you're getting your bike back as soon as humanly possible, because it's, you know, never leaving you. So that's another huge benefit of working on the bike yourself, if you know what you're doing. I'm sure plenty of people, even, you know, trained motorcycle mechanics and people who live and breathe, you know, motorcycles, they make mistakes from time to time that cost them time and money. You know, have no doubt about that. And it's just something to bear in mind. I think, personally, and this is just going to be my opinion at this point, even though really all of this has just been my opinion, that the risk of damaging something while you're working on your bike significantly outweighs the downtime and the cost of having somebody else work on it for you. So that's my opinion, and take everything that I've said in this video with that filter on it, because, you know, as much as we try to remain unbiased in what we say and do, that's it's not always the case. So, not going to 12th and Banal. Why is there a sign over here? Why are you slowing down? Oh, Sinclair dinosaurs! I'm even wearing my 93 Dead Dinosaurs shirt. If anybody ever gives you grief for riding a motorcycle, just tell them, look, it runs on liquefied dinosaurs. I don't know what you want. So, once again, here we are. We've talked about the pros of working on your motorcycle yourself. Let's talk a little bit about the cons. Tool investment cost. If you don't have a fully equipped shop, there's going to be some overhead for buying tools. And for the love of God, don't buy crappy tools. Like, buy decent tools. And by decent tools, I mean the stuff that you're really going to reef on, don't cheap out on. All right? I shop plenty at Harbor Freight. I'd say probably 25% of the tools in my shop are Harbor Freight. But there are certain things that I buy that are well manufactured. My socket wrench set is a Crescent set. My open-ended and box-ended wrenches, those are a Crescent set. I have a couple of snap-on torque bars. What are those called? Breaker bars. There we go. So the stuff you're going to be putting, you know, the 240-pound gorilla on, as you know, one famed Canadian might say, don't cheap out on those. Because you will regret it later when you're halfway through a job. What are you doing? Do you not know what yielding looks like? Jesus Christ. So, as AVE would say, you put a 300-pound gorilla on the end of a tool, he's going to break it. Those tools, don't cheap out on. It's that simple. Now, you know, little stuff, I mean, no, that's a topic for another video. But buy good basic tools, wrenches, sockets, socket drivers, all that stuff. Don't cheap out on those, because you want them to last a while and you want them to be your friend. And you don't want one of them stripping off in the middle of a job, or even worse, rounding off one of your fasteners, because that's a whole nother nightmare. So, tool overhead. It's a thing. Be aware of it. Now, next up, we're going to talk about materials beyond just tools. So, if you're doing an oil change, you should have an oil pan. You should have oil filter wrenches. There's other stuff, shop towels, a motorcycle lift, which, if you're going to wrench on your own bike, do yourself a favor, invest in a lift. It was life-changing for me. I'm not even going to lie. Oh, I love this ride. So nice, calming. Be able to see the llamas. There's llamas out here, because of course there's llamas out here. So, the third con to working on your own motorcycle is space. You have to have space. Now, everybody's like, oh, I can wrench in my driveway. Yeah, that's great, until it starts raining in the middle of a job. And then you're trying to cover up the bike, trying to cover up your tools, you know, or you're out there trying to finish in the rain, which you don't want to do. I've been under the hood of enough cars on the side of the road working in the rain to know that I never ever want to work on a wet motorcycle. It'd be nice, warm, well lit, well inebriated. I mean, don't drink and wrench, kids. So, those are really the big pros and cons of wrenching on your own motorcycle. And I'm sure there's more, and feel free to leave them in the comments and discuss them down there. That's a cool sculpture. I wonder what that place is. I have no memory of this at all. Village of Los Ranchos. So, as I was saying, if you have your own pros or cons to wrenching on a bike yourself, leave them down in the comments. Let's have that discussion, guys. And tell me where you fall on the spectrum. Now, there is one more thing that I sort of glossed over, but is worth mentioning, and that's people who will work on their bike cranes. Oh, black crown night herons or sandhill cranes. I think those were sandhills. Anyways, the one thing I didn't mention in here is the people who will work on their bike to a point. So they go, if it is X amount of money, time, effort, whatever their stopgap is, they go, I will work on my bike to that point, and then that's it, I'm done. And, you know, I respect that, because I'm a hands-on fix-it-myself person, if at all possible. I know there's some things that are outside of my ability to do, or my ability to do well, or, you know, cost effectively, as we were talking about before. But I try and fix everything that I can myself, to the point where, you know, I've bought a couple project motorcycles, including the chopper we're building right now, and it needs some loving, that's for sure. But I think that, you know, if you can work on it, I encourage you to. That's my message, and I have a lot of respect for people who take the time to do stuff for themselves. I think that's pretty cool. And that's not to demean the people that don't. You know, I've definitely learned, especially in the past few years, as I've started to get older and more overwhelmed by the amount of crap that I try and do, that you have a finite amount of time, a finite amount of energy and mental capacity to do stuff. And if there's something that is a better investment of your time or energy than working on your motorcycle, then you know what? By all means, do it. Because, you know, a nice little false neutral there. Haven't done that in a while. So, if you have something that's a better use of your time and energy than working on your motorcycle, do it. You know, the world will be better for it, because the world needs more people who are passionate about things, and not less people who just do things to do things. So, if you have something that you're passionate about that keeps you from wrenching on your bike, you know, stick to it. And not used to be this many stop signs down here. I don't know how I feel about this now. Probably not going to stop me from riding through here, because I love this ride. Wow, everybody and their mother is California stopping that stop sign. So, pros and cons of working on your bike yourself. There's a lot of them. You know, let me know what you think down in the comments. Holy moly. Busy here. It's already parked back there. Park up here.